Hello everyone, welcome back to Candidate Chess. It has been a while since we got back to chess, but today is the official opening where we are going to be learning a lot from chess. So, in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to evaluate a chess position. So, we are going to use the Queen's Gambit as our main focus, the opening plans, the middle game, and the end game, what you want. So, let's see how the Queen's Gambit goes. So it starts with d4, d5, c4. Once c4 has been played, then you can know that the Queen's Gambit has been initiated on the board. So what are the intentions of white doing this? White wants to deflect the black pawn that is on d5 to c4, where it can be vulnerable to attacks. So the accepted line is whereby this is captured. But we'll be focusing on a more advanced plan whereby they declined it with c6, which is called the Slav c6. So c6 is considered to be one of the solid declines that can happen in the Queen's Gambit. So after c6, I could recommend you to play knight f3. And there are two plans that will follow after this. The first one is what happens once you play knight f3 and the capture occurs, or knight f6. So the first will focus on the capture. So once the capture occurs, you need to play this e3. Although you could like to have your pawn, your bishop on bishop to g5, at first you need to take care of the business that is just hanging here. That is how you come up with the opening plan so that you can have an advantage in the middle game. So black senses that the pawn that is on c4 is under attack. So what happens if they try to push this? So once the push occurs, you can now use the principle of attacking the base of the pawn chain. You go for the tail. If the capture ever occurs, you are going to capture this pawn. That's what happens. So let's see what happens if they play e3. Just trying to solidify their position because they know that now things are getting out of hand. You can play b3. b3, trying to undermine the pawn chain once more. So if the capture ever occurs here, you are not going to capture the side, but rather capture towards the center. So let's see. Capture here, you capture towards the center, and this pawn, no matter what, it will fall anytime. You can even pressure it by playing knight to c3. So we have seen what happens if you play knight f3 and black just captures the pawn. You see what happens? So if they direct capture, you play e3, they push, you go for the pawn chain. And if they play this, you can attack the pawn chain further, so that if they take this side, you can take here. That's what happens. But what if they play a trick move, that is knight f6? So once you see knight f6, you are going to be tempted to play bishop to g5. So you playing bishop to g5 can be a good move, but in this position, it is not. Because following the sequence whereby when the capture occurs and you play e3, they play b5. So once they play b5, you go for the initial plan that we had talked about earlier, that is playing f4. So once you play f4, they are going to play e3. The same thing. Once you play this, now you are going to receive the annoying, the bishop coming to b4. And there's no good way to defend this position, because what I can tell you is after you play this, you're going to blunder a lot of material. Let's say you try this, they will not capture. In fact, they will just leave you, but they'll push this pawn. You'll be forced to move. If not, you're going to lose the knight that is on d2. That's what happens. Otherwise, if they give you a check, you're going to be forced to lose the right of castling and the game will be very complicated after this. So that's why once you see knight f6, you don't rush for this, but rather you just play directly e3, just playing e3. Once they take, you can take back. Those are now the basis of the openings that you need to know in the Slav. The knight coming to f6 and the direct capture. This is what you are going to mostly face. So now we have finished the opening phase. What should be your plans in the middle game? That is one of the questions that you need to ask yourself once the middle game approaches. All right. So you need to look for pieces that are very inactive. The first piece that is inactive is the rook, the knight, the bishop, even this bishop. But although this bishop that is on f1 is doing something, but it is not that active. So you can take it to bishop to d3, which is the usual square for the light squared bishop in the Queen's Gambit. So let's say after you play this, so if they take, they are helping you. Next, you are just going to castle, play the knight to f3, this here, and bring your rook here. And you are going to attack very effectively once you follow this procedure. That is the first variation that I wanted to show you. The second variation after d4, d5, c4. So the second variation is whereby they play e6. So once e6 comes on board, the move that I like to employ the most is playing knight c3. So once knight c3 is played, you can either face knight f6 or bishop b4, going for the Ragozin. So let's see what you should do once you see knight f6. So here I could recommend going for the exchange variation, which is the simplest that you're going to play, because the moves here are very natural. Yeah, as you can see. So mind you, if they do this, you can just continue with this. So the top move that they should play in this position is this. Let's see what happens if they do this and you play this. They should play this. Otherwise, if they go here, you are going to bring your queen, attacking two things at a time. So the pawn and this other pawn that is here. Let's see if they try to do this. You can go for this. Now you're attacking this pawn here 2 times and the pawn that is on b7. So that's why they mostly start with c6. So after c6 has been played, the initial plan now in the exchange with knight f6 is you playing e3. e3 is the key move in the Queen's Gambit, whereby if they play this, mind you, if they come directly here, you have this sneaky move. And most of the times, I've seen players doing this, like bringing the bishop here. So once the bishop comes there, you can just grab it. You can grab it. After they take, you take. Let's see. So you can even take this. Not even that. Let's see. If the bishop comes here, can you take? Yeah, you can take this. If they take, you can take the queen. So if they take, you're going to take while it's developing your piece. But if they take this, you can also do this. This is totally fine for you. I think you can have a great game from here. So once they take, they lose the right of castling, and you're going to have a clear game from there. So that's why them playing this directly is not a good move. And once they can't play that, you are the one that is going to control this diagonal. Let's see. You come here, then you control the light squared diagonal. The pointing system, this diagonal. So mostly they are going to play this, then you go bishop g3, and if they come here, you can even go for this. Once this is played, you go for this, trying to jump your knight there. Those are the plans. So you need to bring your rook to c1 so that it controls this. Then you go for the minority attack, whereby you start with this, then you play b4. b4 is always the winning idea in this position. So after that, you can even castle this side. The rook comes here, then you can start pushing this. You can start pushing the pawn. That's what happens after knight f3. So going a bit behind, so we discussed what happens after this, of which we are just going to capture a trade. That's all. Sometimes they can play this, then once you capture, they take with this. This is even much simpler because you're just going to play this. They capture, you take. Mostly you're going to face this. This is just standard stuff. They take, you take, bishop check, they do this, you take, you do this. And after this position, I think white has a bit of advantage because they can develop anytime. Look, even a bishop can come to b5 very fast, giving a check there, then you can castle and the game will continue. So the key idea is trying to locate the best square that your piece needs to occupy in these positions. So we have discussed knight f6. What happens if bishop b4 is played? So after bishop b4, the move that I like to play is queen f4. So queen f4 forces this. Then after that, you can even play e3. So that if they take, you can take. This should be pretty good. If they try anything like coming here, you can just come back here. They try to push you, then you put the bishop on its original square where it belongs in the queen's gambit. Next, you're going to bring your knight to e2 and do short castle. And you'll be very safe to go after that position. So the next sequence that we're going to look at, let's see. So we have discussed a lot of things. The next thing that I want us to look out for is after playing this comes. So how I view this move is that it's the same as the knight coming to f3 after the sequence, because we are going to continue with this, and the moves that they follow up is this. Then once you play this, you go for this. This is the setup that you are going to be reaching most of the time, of which you are going to transpose into the position that we talked about and playing in the ways of the game, following with bishop coming to g5. So this is how you play in the Queen's Gambit, trying to focus on the principles and the ideas that you need to employ in the middle game. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Thank you.